Where are you going to be?
More folks out. Thank you for coming out. Jacksonville Bar Association is very pleased to host a judicial debate tonight. We take that responsibility very seriously to help educate the public about judicial races. These are obviously very important races to the community. They don't get as much profile as they really deserve. We have some very fine candidates today. We're very pleased to have them present to us today. We are very interested in maintaining the high quality that the Fourth Judicial Circuit has always had in our judges. We have one elected judge with us today who's going to take the bench, Katie Deering, who is going to succeed me very soon. Thank you. And we would ask each of you regardless of whether you prevail in this election, to please consider continuing involvement in the Jacksonville Bar Association. We have received a lot of good commitment and involvement from our bench and from others who have run and participated in the process. We think that's very important. And we would ask you to consider activity on the committee and other positions of leadership within the bar, and we appreciate very much your attendance. Thank you. And I would ask Rick Mullaney, who I have proved somewhere that he was at one time an actual practicing lawyer, but now is the policy director at Jacksonville University's Public Policy Center, and he is here to moderate today. Thank you, Rick.
Well, good evening, everybody. As my name is Rick Mullaney. I'm the director of the Public Policy Institute at Jacksonville University. Very pleased to be the moderator for tonight's discussion. Thank you, congratulations, and thanks and for all we're doing. So tonight's judicial forum is co-sponsored by the Jacksonville Bar Association and the D.W. Perkins Bar Association. So I do want to recognize Greg Redmond, president of the D.W. Perkins Bar Association, with us here tonight. Tonight's forum, as you know, involves three races: Circuit Court Race Group 18, County Court Group 3, and County Court Group 8. The election is on August 28th, and 2.5 months from now. For tonight's forum, let me just go over the ground a little bit. It's very simple. I promise we'll be on time. It will be no more than an hour. Each of the candidates will have an opportunity to give a 2-minute opening comments, make opening statements to you. The order will be the circuit court race will be first, and the order of the candidates was determined by a coin toss that was held earlier. And then the county court races will go next with county court 3 and county court 8 giving their openings. We will then have questions of each of the candidates, 60-second responses, and then each candidate will have an opportunity for a 2-minute close, and we'll do it in the reverse order, with the county court race through 8 going first and the circuit court race going last. And we have a coin toss to determine the speaker. So for tonight, I just want to very briefly introduce the candidates that we have in our circuit court race in the middle, and that is Circuit Court Group 18. We have Ms. Marie Borcan, and we have Charles McBurney. In County Court Race 3, Mr. Michael Batay and Gerald Wilkinson could not be here tonight, and I will read a statement from them. And in our final race in County Court 8, we have Ms. Lorraine Hendricks and Kimberly Gazette. Those are our candidates for tonight. So based on the coin toss, we're going to have opening statements. That will be 2 minutes. And based on based on the coin toss, that will be Ms. Borcan going first.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mulaney, and thank you so much for all of you coming out today. I really appreciate your interest in being here. If you look at my resume, you'll see that I have a little bit of an eclectic background. I spent the first 10 years of my life not doing legal work or going to college. And you'll see that I went from everything from a draftsperson to an interior or a fashion designer to a boat crew and flight attendant. And I have a lot of experience just working, because that was what was important in my family. I was the first person in my family to go to college and the only one in the original family who's ever gone to college. And in the last 20 years of being a lawyer in Jacksonville, I came to it through going to Smith College, where I graduated at 33, and then went to FSU Law School, graduated at 36, and began practicing at the state attorney's office under Mr. Schultz. And I'll try not to move. It's very noisy. So I practiced for 6 years at the state attorney's office, and my intention was to practice in many different areas of law. And I was in juvenile, I was in special assault, and then I went to the Attorney General's office and opened our child predator cybercrime unit around the state. And after that, I went to the college for a while, did in-house counsel, and now I'm in family law. So I have quite a bit of time of both civil and criminal experience. And maybe after this conversation and in my closing, you'll hear more about why I chose those things. Because what you heard is what I did. But what's really important is why I did it. And so I hope to share some of that with you tonight and in the last part of my presentation here in my closing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our second candidate in the Circuit Court race is Mr. Charles McBurney.
Good evening. I want to thank the Jacksonville Bar Association, the D.W. Perkins Bar Association for holding this event. I am a candidate for Circuit Court, Group 18, which is presently held by Judge Carruthers, who is retiring from the bench. A little bit about myself. I'm a Florida native. I attended the public schools in Florida, graduated from the University of Florida, both undergraduate and law school. I practiced law in the Northeast Florida area for 35 years. I've been with a large firm. I was an assistant state attorney. I was a main partner in a small to medium-sized firm. I started my own firm, and I'm now a solo practitioner. I'm presently AV rated by Martindale Hubble for over 20 years. I've been very involved in the community. I've been an officer and director of over 20 civic organizations in Jacksonville. I've been very involved in bar activities and holding positions in the Commercial Law League of America, the Jacksonville Bar Association, Jacksonville Bankruptcy Bar Association. I've been honored to have been appointed by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court to the Florida Innocence Commission and later to the Florida Access to Justice Commission. In 2007, I was elected to the Florida House of Representatives, where I served 9 years. I was chair of Justice Appropriations, which gave me an appreciation for the budgetary constraints of the judicial branch. And I also chaired the full Judiciary Committee, where all civil and criminal bills came across my desk. As a practicer for practitioner for the last 35 years and deeply involved in the community. My approach to the bench is through the importance of the rule of law, the importance of making decisions and making those decisions properly, and the importance of the knowing and having the appreciation that the decisions that you make can have a profound impact on people's lives. I appreciate you both.
Thank you very much. Our next candidate is from County Court. That's 3. That will be Mr. Michael.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Michael. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm running for County Court Judge Group 3. I have been practicing for 17 years, zealously advocating for my clients, and I have been a dedicated public servant most of that time. I have litigated tens of thousands of hours in both civil and criminal arenas. I have handled every type of case from misdemeanor to death penalty cases, and I have a broad range of civil matters as well. Because of that experience, I believe that I am the best candidate for this position. Recent time, I have come back to the public defender's office in the role of manager. I handle the most serious of cases in our office, but I've also taken on the role of mentoring the younger attorneys in our office. I sit a second chair, guiding them in trial and hearings and prepping for trials themselves. As an attorney, I believe that it's important to give back not only to our profession, but also to the community as a whole. I sit on many different boards and have provided community service to many different organizations. I sit before you today not as a person that is ready to give back or wants to give back, but as a person that has and will continue to give back as a judge. I have the support of many of the local community as well as the legal community, and I would love your vote on August the 28th because I believe I'm the right person for this job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The other candidate in County Court Group 3 will not be with us tonight, Gerald Wilkerson. He asked to read a statement, so I'd like to read Mr. Wilkerson's statement for all of you. And these are the words of Mr. Wilkerson. First of all, I'd like to apologize to each and every one of you for my not being here. As many of you may already know, I ran for circuit judge in the last election, and it seems that all I've been doing the past 2 years is campaigning. I promised my 2 boys that I would take them to Canada and plan this trip long ago, and I simply could not let them in. I honor and respect each of you, and my absence should not be construed as indifference or arrogance, but rather the result of my commitment as a father and husband first and foremost. Secondly, I'd like to thank the Judicial Bar Association for hosting this forum, and particularly for the opportunity to let me have my statement read. My name is Gerald Wilkerson. I suspect most of you are already have heard of me. Some of you may know me personally, and others may recognize my name from the previous election. That election was a circuit-wide election and consisted of Clay, Duval, and Nassau counties. This election is a county court race in Duval County only. Many people don't know this, but in that race I won Duval County and I won. I know running against a sitting judge didn't win me a lot of friends, but I hope it illustrates that I have the courage with all my conscience to do the right thing. Judges must use common sense to decide cases, and I believe that comes from life experience. I bring a broad range of life experiences. I know about real people problems. I've had my share of AIDS. I grew up in poverty, was raised by a single mother, and sometimes by my grandparents. I joined the Army at age 17, and after receiving an honorable discharge, I worked my way through college, graduated with honors, and as a member of the Gulf Coast National Honor Society. I then attended the University of Florida College of Law and graduated with honors in 2000. During law school, I received the prestigious Book Award of Family Law, was a member of the Journal of Technology, Law and Policy, and it was inducted to the Delta Phi Legal Honor Society. I passed the bar exam on my first attempt with a very high score and immediately began working for the public defender's office. In the first few months, I received the trial award. I started my own firm in 2005, and I know what it's like to run a business, make a payroll, and multiple hearings in different jurisdictions, and how to balance all of this. And I don't judge my favorite judges on how they rule against me, but rather how they treat me and my clients, and that will always be my guiding principle. As a firm owner for the past 13 years, I'm proud to say I have a Better Business Bureau A+ ranking and a top-rated lawyer at APCO.com. I'm by far the most experienced candidate when it comes to the breadth and length of my legal experience, I started out with the public defender's office for 18 years, and soon I graduated, having continued in criminal law, family law, workers' compensation, and a number of other things. If you want an establishment candidate, I cannot be your choice, but if you believe I have the courage, experience, temperament, and ability to be an independent, fair, and impartial judge, then I ask that you vote for me. Please visit votewilkerson.com to learn more about me. Thank you for your time and consideration. That is the statement, Mr. Chairman. Our third race in the judges' race is County Court Removal. And that one, our first speaker will be Ms. Kimberly Sack.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to thank the Florida Bar, Jacksonville Bar. I'd like to thank D.W. Perkins for this forum. It's very professional, and I appreciate that. My name is Kim Sadler. I am, since age 13, been in Duval County. Went to Fletcher, went to undergrad in Georgia, came back from that, worked for 12 years, and I have been, since that, in Duval County courtrooms, walking back and forth and trying cases. I worked with the public defender's office for a while, tried jury trials in many cases, stemming from loitering to first-degree murder cases. I moved on into the felony division of the public defender's office, where I supervised other attorneys on procedures and the rules to go through jury trials. I've tried many cases, as I said. The reason I got into law school, I used to work for NBC. I took pictures, video. I heard from people, told their story, aired their story. I have 5 Emmys from that experience. I have 1 Peabody Award from that experience. I was covering the court case for many times towards the end of my career with NBC. It was the end of my career because I decided things weren't going right. I wanted to be a part of it. And that's when I went to law school. Met my soulmate, my husband, Gary Cruz. And I have been practicing, as I said, for 17 years, trying cases. I moved into private practice after about 9 years. I stayed with that office for 4 years. And I was getting problems by working on cases that we weren't making enough money on. I quickly turned into my own firm, and I did the right thing. I would ask for your vote in August. I represent this county, and I always will. Thank you.
Our other candidate in this race, debate, is Lorraine Kennedy.
First, I would also like to thank the Jacksonville Bar Association and the D.W. Perkins Bar Association for putting this on. And I'd like to thank you personally for moderating, and all of you for coming out. The weather is terrible. But many of you already know me. You've heard my story. There's a few of you who don't, so I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to tell you who I am. I came here in 1990. I moved here from Maryland. I brought with me a little boy and chose to come to Jacksonville because I knew that Jacksonville was a wonderful place and wanted to raise my son in a place that we could call eventually home. But what is home for me? I grew up in a very small home. My parents were working class. My mother was a bookkeeper. My dad came out of the Army. He was a forklift mechanic. I went to a trade school. I became a dental assistant because out of all the people, that wasn't in our future either. So like many people here, we all know how it is to move forward and have goals. When I got here to Jacksonville, I went ahead and found a job that allowed me tuition reimbursement, so I graduated. I'm proud to say locally from JU, magna cum laude, and I went on to apply to law school. I was accepted at Stetson in Florida State, but I chose to go to Florida Coastal because I had children in high school. My experiences vary. I bring to the bench with that. I would bring to the bench with those experiences. I've worked in the state attorney's office. I've done insurance defense, and I've done a lot of family law that has turned into other areas of civil practice. I hope to be able to discuss that more with you as I'm answering questions and let you know why you should choose me as your next county court judge, and I invite you to look at my website. Thank you.
Thanks, all the candidates, for your opening comments. We're going to ask a few questions. We're going to start off with circuit court. Our first question will be Ms. Horton, and our first question is, why are you running for judge, and in particular, why circuit court?
Thank you so much. I am running for judge because I'm committed to making sure that the law is honored and that our community, more than anything else, feels that they can trust the court. I want to make sure that those people that come before the court, people like you and me or our family members, somebody that has a marriage that didn't last forever, somebody that has a drug problem, somebody that made a mistake, somebody that had issues that they couldn't fix. I want to make sure they trust that they were heard, that they had their day in court, and I have the ability to truly make that a reality in Jacksonville, so that I will really hear the people represent their story and their case and be able to follow the law, but let them leave confident that they received a fair and impartial judge hearing their situation. That's why I'm
Mr. McBurney, the same question to you. Why are you running for judge and why circuit court?
Well, I'm running for judge because I frankly think I have something to offer the court. Mostly because of 35 years of practice, both a legislative background as well as the executive background. My experience with varied nature of practice, I think that's something that I can offer, the bench. I'm more interested in the issues involving circuit court, and that's probably the reason that I would want to do that one as opposed to county court. Plus, the nature of the practice that I've had over the years is more conducive, and I've been more in circuit court, and so that's why I'm running.
In our county court race, Mr. Bethea, why are you running for judge, and in particular, why are you running for county court judge?
Well, thank you. I am well committed to that. I have practiced in all fields of criminal law and in civil law. But I'm dedicated to the practice of law, but also dedicated public service. I have taken the younger attorneys that have come into our office and have trained them through mentoring and helped them hone their skills as a trial attorney. I think that that is a very important position that someone needs to take at the office. It has been a wonderful opportunity to do that, but it also gives me the opportunity to give back. When you are able to take somebody, everybody understands the law, everybody understands the books, they've read them, but in order to put that into practice, that means some kind of guidance. And I have been able to do that, and I will be able to continue doing that, giving back to the community, but also allowing the litigants that come before me fair, the opportunity to litigate their case. I will treat them fairly.
In our county court race, we'll take the first question, go to Ms. Hendricks. Ms. Hendricks, why are you running for judge and why are you county court?
Sure. So for me, it is really just a matter of service, like many of us. This community has been so good to me. I mean, I came here with literally nothing, and I built a life, met my husband. I have the opportunity, I was able to work at the state attorney's office and make a difference in the 7th Circuit. I've now, because of this community, I have a vibrant practice that I truly enjoy. And we give a lot of our time back to them, to the community, it's pro bono work, but I want to do more. And this is a way to connect a little more, provide what the community needs right now. They need somebody who's going to listen to them and be able to present their case. And the reason why I want county court judges is because it is the people's court. And that's the area that I really believe I excel in, with connecting and listening and allowing people to have their say. Thank you.
Ms. Allen, the questions to you, why are you running for judge and why the county court?
Thank you, sir. I want to make a difference. I'm staying in Jacksonville. I won't leave. This is where I'll be buried somewhere. I want to make a difference. Jacksonville, as I've seen through the television at times, and I've seen the public defender's office, there's a lot of people that work in that courtroom that don't respect others, don't respect themselves at all. With the county level, I'm not guided by guidelines. I can make a difference. I'm going to listen to the people that I would serve. I understand everyone has schedules. I will make sure that they're not coming back to court every 2 weeks just so they could lose some more money from their job. I want to hear their day in court, and I give it to them. I've been listening to them for years.
Our second set of questions will go to Candace. Again, starting with circuit court. The first question to Mr. McBurney. Mr. McBurney, based on your years of practicing law, this is a two-part question. What do you consider to be the three most important qualities of a good judge? And what differentiates a good judge from a great judge?
Well, I think the three, number one is adherence to the rule of law. I think integrity and I think temperament are the three that come to mind first when you talk about what makes what quality you want to see with a judge. A great judge is able to take all those qualities, put all those qualities together and do it on a consistent day-to-day basis, regardless of who comes before them daily, and is consistent adhering to the rule of law, but knowing that each and every day he's dealing with people with problems.
Ms. Horton, based on your years of experience, what do you consider to be the three most important qualities of a good judge? And part two, what separates, what distinguishes a good judge from a great judge? Or a great judge from a good judge?
Thank you. The most important quality, I think, is courage. Because when you're sitting on the bench and you are following the law, and you have to, one, take the time to say if you don't know the law and make sure you know the law and do the research, take the time to be able to go make sure you're following the law to the T. But also, you have to be able to risk not having favor and not giving favor and not having approval from your friends or your coworkers or your peers. You have to have the courage to do the right thing. And that's why, as a state attorney, I love that. I went to sleep every night knowing I did the right thing. Sometimes that means that you do what people want. Sometimes it means you can't. The courage and the integrity and the ability to uphold the integrity of the bench so people trust what's happening in court, because the same thing happens with this judge. You know and you can rely on it. And what I think makes the difference between good and great is wisdom. And you cannot have wisdom if you haven't lived and done different things. And so a person who's a great judge has a lot of life experience to apply to their task in court.
Mr. McBurney, the question's a little bit different, pretty much the same, a little bit different, and that is this. During your years of practicing law in front of a lot of different judges, what are the three qualities that you saw in judges that were most important to you as a practitioner?
I would have to say that it would be temperament, hardworking, and serving with humility. And I will kind of piggyback the other question. What differentiated, I think, great judges from good judges is that they took all of those and made them into their own. They were consistent. When you have a judge that is consistent, you know that the rule of law is being adhered to. If a judge does not have or needs to understand a different kind of law, they read it, they understand it, they learn it. Ultimately, having the consistency to rule and the courage to rule in certain cases, I think makes a great judge.
In our other county court race, Rebecca and Sadler, what are the three most important qualities of a good judge, and what differentiates a great judge from a good judge?
Fairness, common sense, and compassion. A great judge has the patience and compassion and has the time to listen to the arguments, to balance the arguments, and use their preparedness. They have to be prepared for hearings and things. Be prepared going in to make it easier coming out, and give legal analysis. But know your community also. Know your community.
I believe the important qualities of a judge are one that is fair, one that has the ability to be decisive, and one that has a good overall general temperament. People need to know they're being heard, and you have to be able to make them feel comfortable, I think. And so that's really important when I think overall ruling, working in a courtroom. And I think that the difference between what makes a good judge and a great judge is integrity. And when somebody walks out of that courtroom, it doesn't matter if they win or have lost, they feel good about the fact that they were heard and can accept the results, and that is what I think is good.
Our third set of questions will begin again with the circuit judge, and the first question will be for Ms. Worthing. A number of candidates have mentioned fairness, they've mentioned common sense. My question is along those lines, but here's the question. Will your personal values and beliefs play a role in the decisions you will make as a judge? If so, how? If not, why not?
1 minute? I think.
I'll tell you what, let's make it 90 seconds. How's that? We'll get 90 seconds for each of the candidates who have moderator's discretion. Okay, Craig? We're going to give you 90 seconds on this. Everyone.
I appreciate it. I think that there is 2 answers to the question. Yes, my values and my opinions are always going to impact my observation of what happens in court and how I view things. However, I also have the obligation and the duty to set them aside and take a closer look at what the evidence is and what the facts are. I have to say that I think that my values and my opinions are going to be a benefit, that they're going to be a benefit to the rulings that I make. It is the judge's decision, in many cases, to evaluate the credibility of the witnesses and to decide whether people are being forthright and truthful or whether they're not. And in some part, we all use our experience and opinions to be able to look at people and see where are they coming from. Are they being honest with me? Is it consistent? Is their story not lining up? And so I don't believe necessarily that I would be able to set all of my values and opinions aside. And I also believe that those that I have will come in handy, and I'll be able to use them to evaluate the situations before me and the people that are before me. I think that overall, if it's a strongly held opinion, it needs to be set aside.
Mr. McBurney, same question to you. Will your personal values and beliefs play a role in the decisions you will make as a judge? If so, how? If not, why not? And you have 90 seconds.
I strongly believe in the rule of law. And that includes concepts of separation of powers and that everyone ought to be in their lanes. I don't believe that a judge sits as a super legislator trying to impose his personal beliefs, his or her personal beliefs and values when it's not their role to do so. And so the separation of powers is a very important concept that you have on a daily basis. Now, do personal values and beliefs play some role? Yes, there's always the discretion that judges have by the very natures of witnesses who come before them and the arguments and the persons that come before them on a daily basis. But by and large, it's our role as judges to adhere to the rule of law, to follow the law, even where we might disagree with that law. And I think that's something which is a critical component of being a member of the judiciary.
In our county courtrooms, Mr. Patel, as you've heard, the question is for the audience, will your personal values and beliefs play a role in the decisions you'll make as a judge? If so, how? If not, why not?
Well, I think that they do impact. But as judges, we have to follow the law. That is the most basic of what our job is. In county court, it's a little different than circuit court. You have the ability to be somewhat flexible, but within the law, as Mr. McBurney stated, you have to stay within your lanes. We're not the legislature. We apply the law as it is written. If it is changed, then we will apply that law at that time. But ultimately, our job is to rule on the facts, on the evidence as it's presented to us in court. And with county court, there's a little bit more flexibility to work with individuals that come before you. in the sentencing.
In County Court Group 8, our first question will be to Ms. Hendricks. Ms. Hendricks, ready for the question? Do your personal values and beliefs play a role in the decisions you are making as a judge? If so, how? If not, why not?
So I would agree with Mr. Bate and Mr. McBurney that as much as I might want them to be part of my decision making, I can't. I can't allow them. I have to go ahead and follow the law. Now, where I think that I can be cognizant of that is really when we're looking even at like implicit bias. Am I looking there? I can make sure that I don't travel into that lane. I don't let anybody else travel into that lane. Because again, we have to follow the law. And along with county court, and like Mr. Bate pointed out, that is one of the reasons though that I did choose and want to be a county court judge, because with my experience, my life experience, so when we're talking about in criminal court sentencing, then we can be a little more creative, right? As long as it's, again, within the law. We can go ahead and look at the ability to use some of the diversion programs and what have you. And I believe in those concepts. But my own personal belief, my own, the way I would want to perceive something, I absolutely cannot let that influence my decision making.
Ms. Adler.
Thank you, sir. Common sense. Common sense and having the life experience, as Ms. Hendricks said. Understanding the person in front of you, understanding the facts, being prepared, and using common sense. You have to apply the law, you have to follow the law. It's very short and sweet on that. But your common sense and knowing your community and people in front of you by listening to facts and applying the law, you just have to use common sense.
Our fourth set of questions, and the first question will go to Mr. McBurney. Mr. McBurney, recently, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer visited Jackson, and he has been described as someone who believes that the Constitution is a living document and must be interpreted in light of current circumstances and understanding. In contrast, the late Justice Scalia was often referred to as an originalist, who believed he looked into the text and the historical context and the meaning of the time. The question is, which of these two judicial philosophies best describes you and why?
I think of the two qualities that you mentioned, I am more along the line of looking at the text of the document, reviewing the text, and then if there's a question as to the meaning of the text of the document, you look at to see what the words meant when it was originally written. Other than that, I think that that would otherwise be a situation where you would be otherwise imposing your personal beliefs and values, and that would otherwise be a role for the legislative branch of government. If there's something where you disagree with the law, whether it's the original law of the Constitution or state statute, there's a procedure by which you change that. Otherwise, you're in a situation where you become a person on a black road that determines or effectively legislates, and again becomes something of a super legislator. So I think it's important when analyzing that you look to the text and what the text says, particularly on the circuit court level, where you're really looking at statutory interpretation rather than constitutional interpretation.
So you would describe yourself as closer to Scalia's?
Yes.
Ms. Harkin, I'm going to read it, and I won't read it for the other candidates. I'll just go originalist versus text, but I'll read it one more time for the sake of our audience. Justice Breyer has been described as someone who believes the Constitution is a living document and must be interpreted in light of current circumstances and understanding. In contrast, the late Justice Scalia was often referred to as an originalist, who believed he looked to the text in historical context and meaning at the time. The question is, which of these two judicial philosophies best describes you and why?
Well, I have to say that I am more like Robbins, honestly, because if we didn't have people that looked the Constitution from the reality of the world we live in, we'd still be in a Brown v. Board of Education world. And we still wouldn't let people get married, and we still wouldn't have, black and white people getting married. And I have to honestly say, it is everybody's work to move slowly and conservatively in making changes with the law. But even our rules of procedure change every year. Even the actual court and all of us make changes to the deadlines for the compliance with discovery documents. We change what is electronic evidence, what is digital evidence. If we are so attached to not thinking creatively and solution-oriented about our laws, our rules, our Constitution, then we're not going to be able to grow and move forward. But I cannot say that I don't also at times agree that sometimes the absolute plain meaning of the law is the way it comes down. It really depends on civil rights, on human rights, and on circumstances surrounding each individual case.
Mr. Patek, which of these two judicial philosophies best describes you and why?
I think that it would be Justice Scalia. And the rule of law is the rule of law. The text of a rule of writing is what it is. When individuals that come before you in county court, yes, you do have an opportunity to craft a sentence, if that's the case, in a criminal setting, or craft a different type of ruling in a civil setting. But judges are not there to change the law. They are there to specifically adhere to them within the context of the case and the facts and the evidence that's presented.
Which of these two judicial philosophies best describes you and why?
Great question. I actually carry a copy of the Constitution in my purse wherever I go. That being said, the Constitution wasn't written for African Americans, and it wasn't written for women. So although I highly like Justice Scalia, his opinions are infamous, I would see myself more as a Breyer, as a Ruth Bader Ginsburg, because the Constitution, as I opened it from my purse, is words that are not applicable to today. So you have to use common sense. You have to hear the argument, but you can do both. You can apply what is written through case law, but you have to use your common sense.
Sandra, which of these two judicial philosophies best describes you and why?
I would have to say Justice Scalia. And I'm going to say because we all have jobs and roles in this thing we like to call government. Our job is to make a decision on the law. Your job as the public is to request changes in them, and then our legislators make those changes, and we get to vote on them. And that's how we've made changes. It doesn't mean that everything's perfect. It means that there's a way to correct it, and we have to go about that the correct way. That's why we have the 13th Amendment. That's why we have the 14th Amendment. That's why we have the 15th Amendment. To make those changes and address the changes that came about when we started to realize, owning people, owning slaves is incorrect. And then they need to have the right to vote. We have that ability, and every piece of government needs to do that part, and the people as well.
Are there other questions? This will start with Ms. Martin. Is that correct? I'd like to talk about your career practicing law. Would you please name two of the most significant cases you've ever handled, and why they were the most significant to you?
I had a capital sexual battery case with a victim who was 5 years old, and I made the decision to try to negotiate the case, but the opposing counsel refused. I knew that the defendant was guilty. I knew that the 5-year-old had been victimized, and I had sufficient evidence to go forward, and I had to choose to put the child on the stand. And One of the most important things that I subscribe to is that the child already suffered the worst experience ever, and all I could do was good. And though most people frown at putting a child on the stand, and they don't want to do that, and they say don't put a child on a jury trial, I took that girl in there before trial, and she climbed all over the judge's seat, and she knew exactly where the police officers were going to be, and she was completely supportive and comfortable and had victim advocates for her. And at the end of the day, instead of having a dark, ugly memory that she has to keep inside, she has a beautiful memory that includes that trial. And as other cases that I've handled, I fought for a child in juvenile court that was going to get direct filed, and I felt very excited that I was able to have him avoid being direct filed. Gosh, I could give you so many, but anyway, those are the two.
Well, these would be cases that would be significant to me, and one of them was during the time of the assistant state attorney, and then another one was when I was in private practice. Two completely different cases for two completely different reasons. One of them was a case that I handled as a state attorney's office, where I felt that, as assistant state attorney, many times you come in after the fact, after something has already been done, after there's already a victim that has already been hurt. But in this particular instance, this was a domestic violence case that involved a woman who was in grave danger, truly grave danger from her soon-to-be ex-husband. And it was a violation of an injunction, and it was an all-day, knock-down, drag-out fight. But at the end of the day, it was important to me because I honestly felt that that woman's life was saved as a result of what I did, and I still hear from her 20, 30, 25 years later. The other one was a completely different case, which was just an incredibly complex civil case that I handled that lasted for 5 years. That I headed up a team of lawyers, several lawyers, extremely complex case that I thoroughly enjoyed. It was very complicated, like a law school exam.
Mr. Patel, a little bit different. Can you name the most significant criminal case you've ever handled and the most significant civil case you've ever handled? Yes, there's a few, but the one that I would mention is that it was a case where everything was going right for my client. The witnesses that came in kind of fell apart on the stand. The evidence that was being presented by the state was falling short, and we were convinced that he was going to be found not guilty. At the end of the state's case, the judge asked Mr. Patel, do you have any witnesses or any other witnesses? We presented one, and we said, no, we did not. My client sitting next to me tugged on my jacket and leaned in and said that he wanted to testify. The judge ultimately gave us an opportunity to speak because we were in conflict with each other. But ultimately, he testified because it was his right to testify. And I learned that day that these are not our cases of lawyers. We do not dictate what happens. These individuals, these clients, dictate how they want. Unfortunately, that individual testified, fell apart on the stand, and was convicted. In a civil matter, it was a little bit more exciting. I represented an individual that bought 2 Mustangs. One was to be restored and one was to be used as pieces or parts to have a completely restored Mustang. The restorations place that he took it to really treated him very poorly. Ultimately, we were able to take that to trial and win verdict for my client.
Ms. Andrews, what are you 2 of the most significant cases you've ever handled to you, and why they're so significant to you?
So I'm going to go way back in my career, and I'm going to go back to when I was a state attorney. And essentially what I had was a victim. I was prosecuting DV cases. And this victim was actually, it was a gentleman, and he was the boyfriend of a young lady, and the young lady's brother didn't like it. Now, there's a lot of complications to this case, and suffice it to say that it ended up being a case that was basically one full of incest, and the brother and sister had coupled up, and the brother didn't like that. I pled with the judge at that time. We were in just pre-trial, and asked for her to please give me a little bit more time, not a lot, but a little more time, so I could go ahead and get the witness to agree. And unfortunately, he would not agree. And that weekend he died because the judge let him out, and he wouldn't do what I needed him to do. And that's something that I'll never forget. And then I have so many cases with family law, and I deal with children a lot, and I do dependency work. So to pick one particular one that is really significant, I'm just going to say it took me a year to get children to be part of the grandparents, and it was a terrible situation, but we stuck with it, and we were able to protect 2 children, and they're still alive today because of that, and that is a significant case as well.
Can you tell us 2 significant cases you worked on before?
Criminal Michael Birch, 1020 life. This man was at a home. He was protecting himself and his girlfriend. Someone came in, tried to shoot him. He shot back under 1020 life. He was convicted. Luckily, it was a week-long trial. Luckily, I argued for a YO sentence, and he was given a YO boot camp. And he came out, and Michael Birch right now lives on Arlington Expressway. He has 3 children, and he's been married for 9.5 years, I so call it. Civil case. I have a gentleman, I am a big animal lover, huge animal lover. And I got my first animal abuse. Didn't think I'd be able to do it. This man actually put a dog in a suitcase and dropped it on Greyhound with the dog in the suitcase. They stopped him at one of the stops. They took the dog out of the suitcase. They threw water on the dog then died. This man cried and cried. You have to listen to the whole story before you make a decision. This man loved that dog and didn't want to leave it in Miami. I think my time's up.
This will be our final question before our closing comments. And this question starts with Mr. McBurney. Mr. McBurney, what in your background distinguishes you and prepares you for serving as a circuit court judge?
I don't know why you're always boring myself first.
It's a flaw, we'll correct the next one.
Well, I think what distinguishes me as a candidate for circuit court judge is the breadth and depth of my experience, both in the legal community and in the community at large, both on the state and local level. And I think I bring those experiences, the experiences of 35 years of where I think I've provided a great deal to our community and hopefully some to our profession as well, that I think has prepared me to serve on the circuit court bench, and I'd be honored to do so.
Ms. Workman, what in your personal background distinguishes you and prepares you for serving as a circuit court judge?
Well, this is a pleasant way for me to lead into my suggestion about why I did what I did. So in my background, I was arrested as a juvenile and was lucky enough and privileged enough to have my family provide an attorney for me to have that situation turn around so that a criminal record and the case was dropped. And because of that, I worked with juvenile crime on purpose because it was important to me to be able to change those children's lives and to be able to make sure that they were steered out of the criminal justice system.
I also grew up in a family that had a very long and arduous divorce between my parents and involved abuse and other issues and problems and struggles and financial bankruptcy and different things. And so I practiced divorce. And I practice divorce and family law and child custody. And I do so with the wisdom and understanding of how much it's important for our children to love both parents, have both parents in their lives unless there's some grave danger associated with that, and to help them put their children first. Everything that I've chosen to do in my professional career, I did because those topics matter to me, and I can make a difference by bringing to it the very best experience that I have and the knowledge and wisdom that I have. As a divorced mother, I'm able to understand other couples that are going through that as well.
Mr. Patet, what in your background distinguishes you and prepares you for serving as a county court judge?
Well, I started at the public defender's office when I first got out of law school. I did that for a few years and then was hired on a big civil firm. After working there for a time, I went into private practice because I wanted to own my own practice. I have experienced payroll, I've experienced paying bills and things of that nature, but something was calling me back. I had this desire, this pull to go back to the public defender's office because I have tried every type of criminal case there is, from misdemeanors to death penalties. I don't believe that there will be any case that would come before me that I have not experienced in my life.
Ms. Adams, what in your background distinguishes you and prepares you for serving as a county court judge?
Thank you. I told you earlier I've been in courtrooms for 17 years as an attorney. I've actually been in courtrooms for probably 20 plus because I walked the courtrooms as a janitorial person and reported on things and brought them back to the station and tried to bring them to a human level, both sides. I respect the law. I changed careers. I left NBC and changed careers, went into law. It's a passion I have. I understand people. I try to pride myself on that. I understand the law, and I respect the law. With those things and common sense, I believe I would be the best choice for a county court judge.
Ms. Hendricks, what in your background distinguishes you and prepares you for serving as a county court judge?
Thank you. I'd have to say that besides my legal experience, which by the way is very vast, I've been a business owner. I have worried about people. I've worried about my employees. I've had a successful law firm for 14 years. The dynamics may have changed. Partners come and go a little bit, but we have been here in the community and provided services. I practiced family law, civil county. I have done work as a state attorney, obviously, domestic violence, misdemeanors. We've done landlord-tenant. I have a broad experience in all the places that you need to have the experience to sit on the county court seat. But you know what? I have a lot of life experience. I'm a military wife. I took care of kids when my husband was deployed, 6 months, 9 months, rolling around. I've been divorced. I've been a single mom. I've worried about how I'm going to feed my kids. I have, been a non-traditional student and lived life as somebody who had to count pennies. So I get it. Those things are important. It brings a human element to the bench. I believe in respecting people. I believe in listening to people. I believe people need to have their day in court. I believe I have the right temperament for the job. And frankly, I believe I'm ready to be your next county court judge, and I would appreciate your support and your vote.
Thanks, Alderman. It's now time for our closing comments. The first comments will come from the county court race, Group 8, and based on the coin toss, our first closing comments will come from Ms. Sack.
Closing. I think you've heard a lot about me. For those of you that did not know that I had first career before law school, I'm glad that you heard a little bit about it. I have won Emmys for my roles as showing other people's stories. In the law side, it's the compassion. I have seen stories, I have reported on stories, I've been part of stories. with a lot of hate, with a lot of hurtfulness, with a lot of sadness, but also with a lot of joy. The law is something that needs to be respected. I respect the law. And people need to be heard. I know that many people are saying their day in court, but the person's day in court needs to be acknowledged, and the people that bring you back to court every 2 weeks, that doesn't need to be done. I promise to also, if I am elected, I will be prompt. Judge Charles Arnold always told me, be prepared and be the first one there. I will be on time, and I won't disregard other people's attention and jobs. I would ask for your vote, and I appreciate T.W. Perkins, Rick, I appreciate it, and the bar. I appreciate Jacksonville Bar. I'd ask for your vote. Thank you.
Okay, there we go. I think that you have heard a lot about me. You understand my experience. You understand where I come from. What you didn't get to hear is that I am deeply committed to this community. I have won the Honorable Lamar Weinbart Pro Bono Service Award for public service for actually providing pro bono service hours. We constantly do work with vets in our office. I am connected with the community. I served on the board of the Family Nurturing Center. I care about this community. This community has been very good to me, and I want to give back and go to the next level of my career, and that is the best way that I can do that. It's not really about me, what I just said. It's about the people and having the right person serve them on the bench. Again, I would just ask that you look at my website, you consider what you've heard tonight, and that you consider voting for me on August 28th. And thank you so much again for taking time to be here.
For the county court race, group 3, Mr. Dupay, closing comment. Thank you, Mr. Wayne. I have wanted to become a judge for quite some time. Many people that know me have asked for years, is this the year? Is this the year that you're going to do it? And I finally politely said no. A lot of them asked why. And I told them that it wasn't the right time, either with work or experience or family. Right now is the right time. I am a dedicated public servant. I came back from private practice because I feel a connection to this type of work. This position is not an award. You don't win this and it becomes an award. This is a service that all people that sit on the bench experience. My past, my experience with my life, with my work, will guide me through this service. I have been blessed and honored to be supported by many individuals in this community, many legal and many in the community as a whole. I have served on different boards of the Jacksonville Bar Association. I have just recently been appointed to the professionalism committee to Florida Bar by President-elect Michelle Susskind. Those positions are very important because it guides individuals through their lives and through their careers. I think that I am the best person for this position. I think that I have shown the dedication and the opportunity to try cases. As I said earlier, there's not a type of case that I have not experienced that would come before me that I wouldn't have that type of experience. Ultimately, I ask you for your vote on August 28th because I do believe that I am the best person for this job. Please go to my website at faithfulchurch.com to learn more information about it. Thank you.
In our circuit court race, group 18, our closing comments, Mr. McBurney.
I want to thank again the Jacksonville Bar Association and D.W. Perkins Bar Association for hosting this important event. My philosophy and my approach to the judiciary is founded upon my 35 years of practice and deep involvement with the community. The importance of the rule of law. I have had both legislative and executive background, which gives me an appreciation for the concept of separation of powers. I've had to adhere to the rule of law in that capacity, even when there's been intense political pressures and I've been tested. The importance of diligence and making decisions promptly. There are very few things that are more frustrating than having to wait an unreasonable amount of time for a judicial decision. As chair of the judiciary, I had to make decisions. I had to make them promptly. I had to make difficult decisions. I had to articulate the reasons for those decisions through that position. The importance of approaching this job with the knowledge that you are profoundly affecting people's lives. Having practiced for as long as I practiced, being involved not only in the legislative and executive branches, but also the deep involvement that I've had within the community, I think it has given me the knowledge and appreciation of the humility that is required to knowing that this job has a profound impact on people. I have been honored numerous times by groups associated with the judiciary, the Florida Bar, the Jacksonville Bar Association, the Florida Sheriff's Association, statewide prosecutors, and court reporters. I've been endorsed by all three sheriffs and firefighters, among others. I would appreciate your vote August 28th.
Closing comments, Ms.
Yeah. In the last 20 years, I've been practicing in courtrooms nearly a daily or multiple times a week all over North Florida. My practice as an assistant state attorney was Jacksonville. Statewide prosecutor, I went from Baker County all the way down to Ocala. In family law, I do the same thing. I have been in courthouses all over this North Florida area, and I care about the system. I care about the people that are in those courthouses, and I understand them. I've been on both sides of the courthouse. I've been there in trouble, and I have been there as a prosecutor, and I've been there as a defense attorney for criminal cases, and I've been there for my own divorce, and I've been there for friends and family with other issues. And the most important thing is that the people can rely on the judge to follow the law and understand the process. I understand the process of courts. I understand the law and what needs to happen. And a lot of discussion was had here about, are you Briars or are you Scalia? The court makes findings of fact. Every single judge has to decide who are they going to believe and who are they not going to believe. That is a fact. It's not just the law. It's the judge that decides whose words they're going to trust, and that is a part of their life experience and their opinions. And I've taken my life experience and I have put it into the service of the people in Jacksonville and North Florida, because what happens in our community matters, and that the court has the wisdom to truly evaluate fairness and deliver justice will improve the character of our community and bring us into a better city and counties. So I hope you will vote for me in the upcoming election, August 28th. Thank you.
Thanks so much to all our candidates. Please join me in thanking our candidates. Thanks to our candidates. Thanks to all of you for attending this judicial forum. The election is August 28th. Please don't forget to vote. Thank you and good evening.